commitment and accountability. So, after all we've talked about, are you interested, or are you committed, or are you obsessed? How many? Yeah, interested. How many feel a little nervous right now? You know, a little concerned. It was like, wow. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, you know, what do you want? And we're all in different places. But you know, are you obsessed at making your future what you want it to? Or are you going to dabble? You know, how many agents do you see that get in this business and quote dabble? Does anybody know the percentage of agents in the United States last year that did not have one transaction? Yeah. Yeah, we've heard all different. We've heard 68 and 74, and I know that, you know, 90% of all statistics are made up. I love that. But yes, it's like, which I just made that one up, right? But, you know, and some of those people might be on a team or something to where, you know, the team lead gets all the activity. But, you know, even look here within our own company and look around at all the companies. You know, if you've sold 10 plus houses, you know, you're up in the upper thresholds of real estate right now. So I just love that. So, all right, let's keep moving on here a little bit. Okay, accountability. I think that this is the key to success. Does anybody in here have an accountability partner in anything? Okay, good. Yeah, and so think about who your accountability partner could be. In business, it could be another peer. It could be a coach. It could be somebody in the company. It could be your broker. If you go to the gym, do you have a trainer? You know, yeah. Yeah, so who's your accountability partner? Would you like to know who mine were and still are? Is that I've got a coach. I've got everybody here because I've got you know, I'm not just up here telling you what you should do. I'm also trying to do it. So I'm not going to tell you to go make phone calls if I'm not willing to make phone calls. So I think that that's very important. But, you know, my accountability is my family. You know, I'm not going to let them down. And I can remember, you know, setting goals with my family that would talk about, hey, if Dad hits, you know, a certain amount of sales or whatever, by whatever, we're going to Disney. We're going to go on a Disney cruise. And I remember that because they were little, so that was a big deal, and I wanted to do it. And so I put it on my dream board. And so what do you think happened when I'd pick them up at school? You know, hey, how was your day today? Oh, great, Dad. Hey, Dad, how many calls did you make? You know, and that became a thing. And that's still my son's in college, and that's still a funny thing when we call each other. It's like, hey, how many contracts you get this week? How many people to sign? And you know what, but it's that little bit of motivation. And I'll tell you where you need that accountability, and some of you guys have heard this story before, is that this is years ago because my kids were little, but you know, I had a coaching call and it didn't go well. You know, it's like, you know, I didn't do what I should have done the previous week. I didn't make my calls. I didn't do what I said I was going to do. So the coach was great. It's like, all right, let's get back on track. You know, let's start moving forward and do it. And so next week, same thing. You know, I was just in, you know, what do you want to call it, a rut, whatever it might be. And he's like, all right, look, he said, you know, you got that dream board next to you? And I'm like, yeah. And he said, yeah, take it out. And he said, that Disney cruise ship's on top, right? The picture of it. I'm like, yeah. He said, okay, rip it off the board. And then tonight at dinner with your family, tell them that, hey, we're not going on that Disney cruise because Dad didn't make his calls and didn't do what he should be doing. And it was like, you know, so all of a sudden it was like, there's no way. And a few of you guys in here have heard that story, you know, because I've done it. But, you know, do you think I made my calls the next week? You know, I started that day. I think I probably made the most calls in any day that same day, you know, just trying to make up. But, you know, you need that accountability partner. You need somebody because we're out there on our own. You know, a lot of you guys work from your home office. You know, and I know it from our Zoom masterminds and things. It was like half of you are in your pajamas, half of you don't want to turn your computer on because you haven't showered in 3 days. You know, it's like I know what's going on. So, you know, let's get up, get dressed, and do this. So, all right. Okay, so what motivates you? Each person's different. It's like, sometimes it's not money. I've got people that come in here that's like, I want to get the trophy. I want to be in the $5 million club. I want to be in the $10 million mastermind. I always like I want to be number one at my bank. When I walk into the bank, they all stand up and cheer. I'm not there, but I think that would be really cool. But acknowledge what drives you. It's like if you want to get the trophy, perfect. If that's what drives you, you want your name on one of the lists. You want to be one of the top producers at NVAR or one of the other associations. By all means, go for it. Whatever drives you, but we have to know the why. And so, a lot of this business plan is going to be figuring out what's your why. Why are you doing real estate? Is it because nobody else would hire you? Or is it that you really see an opportunity here and you want to, create a legacy? Isn't that fun, create a legacy? How many's read the book, The Dash, or heard about it? So, in goal setting, you have to know where you are and where you've been and where you're going. Well, everybody at some point will have a dash on their tombstone. Start date and an end date. Right? Sounds a little morbid, but what'd you do in the dash? Sadly, when people are coming to your viewing or your funeral, they're talking to your family. How do you want your family talking about you? There's one lady in the network that I know that she's in her 90s now. And so, and she talks about this all the time. And she's like, I want them to say that she created a legacy. Can you believe it that she grew up with, only a mom and, they were in the projects and knew where food's coming from. And now she's building, houses for children. And, she's doing all of this stuff. And look at all the doors. It's like, look at what she built. What did you guys build? What did you do? It's like there's a limited amount of time, so go do it. This is exciting. So everybody sort of have what drives them? Is it your family? I'll tell you what's one of the biggest drivers. What happens if I told each one of you, it's like, whatever goal you wrote down, no way you're going to do it. Nope, might as well quit now. Just send them to me. Well, would that drive you? How many, it's like I remember I've had friends or teachers or agents or whatever that you put a goal out that's like, you're never going to do it. And it was like, I'm going to go prove them wrong. So, everything drives everybody just a little bit different. Okay, who's heard of vision and mission statements? Big buzzwords, right? But I think they're important. So let's look at sort of the definition of this. A vision statement is a clear, detailed description of your business in the future, say 3 to 5, 10 years from now. It clarifies your long-term goal. It should be very specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound. This is something more for the internal, more for you and your team and your operations, right? And then we're going to jump into mission, where mission is just a little bit different, right? Mission statement articulates the purpose of your business and means of reaching it. It should be a simple sentence or phrase. The public needs to see it, and you need to focus on it. How many people have a mission or a vision statement? Okay. How many want one? How do we do it? Okay, guys, there's this thing called AI now that's absolutely incredible, right? And it's not going to take over the world. It might, but it's not going to take over the world, but it's going to do, 60, 70% of what you need to do. And if you go in there and you're like, hey, I'm a real estate agent in Northern Virginia, and, I want to help 25 families buy a home, and this is what I do, and this is what I specialize in, help me write a mission statement and ask me questions. What do you need to know? And just prompt it. Part of a lot of the AI stuff is just prompting what you need. So just don't say, hey, write me an email to send to a customer. Well, no, you got to tell it what to do. Hey, soften it up. Put it at a 5th grade level so everybody can understand it, or a 10th grade level, whatever that might be. Because sometimes we talk way too technical. Make sure I'm not doing this. But, what's even really cool about this now is that we've been taking people's business plans and putting them into AI and saying, hey, analyze this. What are we missing? What can we do better? And, and sometimes it spits out some pretty good nuggets. So let's work on your vision. Let's work on your mission. Even when you have the buyer's guides or the seller guides, I love to have your little mission in there. What's your mission? hey, I'm going to help this, and we do this by giving back to our community and supporting whatever. And you put it out there, and then people start coming to you. I can't tell you how many people I've had come to me. It's like, Dave, I'm getting ready to list my neighbor's house. And she's like, I know 25 real estate agents in our community, and I'm calling you. And it's because she said, every time I ever called you and said, we need help with the fun run shirts, or would you help with this? And I know you're a mentor in the schools, and I know you're a business partner, you're a soccer coach, you're a basketball coach, you're always giving back. And so she said, I'm basically going to reward you for doing this. So stuff like that is great. All right, values. Once again, we're hitting all the big buzzwords. Values shape and identify your decision making. What are your values? Just a few is like, and this is probably a bad example, but deliver value, right? It's like, okay, you put both value in both sentences there, but embrace the innovation. How do you build trust? How do you execute? Are you disciplined? How do you strive for greatness? Do you want to be great? What does great mean to you? So love that, love that. Okay. Now, we're going to get very heavy. We all have goals. Some of us do, some of us don't. I'm going to challenge each one of you and talk about a 10-year and a 20-year plan. And so within your booklets that I've handed out, you'll see in there that he's actually got like 1, 3, 5 that's put down there. So I challenge each one of you to do a 10 or 20-year plan. And I don't care if you're 20 years old or if you're 80. Not that there's anybody in here that's 80, but so it doesn't matter. And how I want you to write it is today is, put today's date down. Put 10 years from now. Put 20 years from now. So it's 2035. Hey, it's 2035. Been happy, I am how old, right? Fill it in. Happily married, if you're not married, whatever, fill this in. Happily married. Part of mine is happily married for 35 years, still loving and caring every day, growing. My kids are, 32 and 35. I'm making that up just because I forget what the number was real quick. But, they have families of their own. It's like, we get together every year for a family vacation at the beach, which we pay for. And, and I get to play with my grandkids. And, Debbie and I are now living here. We enjoy doing this. Our net worth is this. Our businesses are this. And this is an ongoing working document. So what I would recommend is doing it yourself and putting it in something, one of the clouds. So what I did is, I went through and I wrote this out. And in fact, I wrote it on an airplane coming home from Dallas years ago. And I just, put the headphones on and just go. And you just start putting stuff out. And it really does make you think. Because, where do you want to be in 10 years? Some of us want to be retired. I won't be retired. But, some want to be on the beach. Some want to sell their business. Some want to be doing something else. But write it down. Part of what we did was, hey, where do we want to live in 20 years? So we started putting areas that we want to explore. So, hey, there's a couple places in North Carolina. So we started putting them down. So what we're going to do now is part of our goals is that, I'm an empty nester now. So, for us to maybe go this weekend, it's like, hey, let's go to Wilmington and let's go explore Wilmington as if we live there and see if it's even something we want to do. We might get down there like, oh my God, or hey, this is awesome. We don't know. So, but plan, what is your net worth in 10 years? So we say that. How many people are going to do it? Okay. Share it with your spouse. Share it with your partner. I wrote mine up, and I'm more than happy to share mine. But my wife got very nervous about it. We were in a Penske truck driving band equipment down to Virginia Beach, I think it was. And she's like, hey, I'm getting a little nervous. I hear you talking to people on the phone about what's their 10-year plan or their 20-year plan, and where are you going to do that? What's our 10-year plan? And I'm like, oh, I've been working on it, and I want to share it with you so you can create your 10-year plan, and we can see where we kind of mesh. And and it's exciting. And then, once we've got sort of, what I would call an actual document together, we shared it with our kids. My dad's like, my kids are like, hey, let's look. And, my son read it. He's like, oh, this is awesome. Because it even had them in there about the kids with the grandkids and all that. I have no idea if they're going to have grandkids or if they're going to get married or if they're going to live in California or Italy. I have no idea. But plan for it. So do it. Just do the exercise. It's harder than you think. All right. Are you ready? We've talked about some of the fundamentals. So, what I want you to do is get some initial thoughts down. What I would suggest is plan. Set aside, an hour this afternoon, an hour tomorrow, whatever it is, to go and get all your numbers. You can get your numbers. You can go into our accounting system and you can get all of your numbers for last year. It'll print out all of your statements as to how much you got paid, your volume, all of that stuff. You can go on the MLS. You can get all that information. So no excuses. All right. And then there's my email. So a couple of these slides are completely different. I redid this last night, and I think my assistant flipped some of the other slides in there this morning. So dwerfel@samsonproperties.net, but if you would also write down 703-932-1576. And that is my cell phone. One time. 703-932-1576. So that's my cell phone.